If you're anything like me, you're watching what's happening in this country and it's not abstract to you. It's certainly not political theater. It's people you love, people you know, the community that you live in, being targeted, surveilled, stripped of rights, and pushed into fear. And something in you has already decided, is feeling that tremendous pull of, I can't just sit back and watch this happen. You don't need to be convinced to care, you already do. But what you don't have are the skills that you need to build a community organization that can actually effectively fight back. You know that something needs to happen, but you're not sure exactly how to build it, how to make sure that it actually helps people, and how to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. This video is going to teach you how to do exactly that in 5 easy steps. And make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end, because the last step of this is the one that really matters most. Before we go any further, I want you to understand where this is coming from. I have been doing this work of organizing and mobilizing people for over 40 years. I've organized everything from a mass mobilization in 800 cities worldwide down to a small community organization that directly helps people in need. I'm also a former human rights lawyer, and for the last 15 years, I've worked directly with community organizations, nonprofits, and activists, helping them take what they care about and turn it into real, effective, sustainable impact. So what I'm about to walk you through, these 5 steps to build an effective community organization, this is not theory. This is what actually works. And if you already know you're done sitting on the sidelines, I want to invite you to book a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call. We help people make sense of that calling, that sense of, I have to do something, but I'm not sure how to make it happen, and turn it into a real functioning community organization that helps and supports people who need it. The link to book a discovery call is below. So I want to set the stage here for why building a community organization feels so hard. So let's name what's really happening here. You're trying to respond to something that feels urgent, high stakes, and morally non-negotiable without a roadmap. And the stakes make it worse. Because when you're thinking about immigrant families losing their homes or being kidnapped by ICE, when you're thinking about medical care for trans kids being eliminated, when you're thinking about the potential of voter interference or about activists being targeted, monitored, and threatened, it doesn't feel like responding to this is something that you can just try. It feels like something you have to get right. So your brain does what human brains do when they're under pressure. It overthinks, it hesitates, it searches for the perfect plan. It waits until you feel more certain, more prepared, more qualified to take action. But here's a truth that you really need to hear. No one starts this work feeling ready, and no one knows how to build and run a community organization until they've actually done it. And the longer that you wait for perfect clarity before acting, the longer the people you care about are left without support. So now I'm going to teach you how to actually do it, even if you don't feel totally ready. If you feel called to build something that actually protects people, this is the sequence. Not theory, and not even inspiration. Execution. Step 1, choose the community that you are willing to stand with. Okay, now this is really important, because one of the things that we encounter all the time with people who come to work with us in the Ripple Effect Institute is that we all care about a multitude of issues and a multitude of communities that are being persecuted right now, including ones that we may belong to ourselves. The key here, though, to building a community organization that actually works is that you cannot serve everyone at once. You cannot rectify all injustice alone. The very first step is to choose one group, one impacted community where you are going to direct your efforts. And this, by the way, is where your heartbreak and your outrage becomes direction. Maybe it's immigrant families in your own town or trans youth in your own school district. Maybe it's neighbors who are food insecure or people who are at risk for detention and deportation. And let me just say this, you're not choosing who matters more than someone else. There's no hierarchy of harm here. You are choosing where you will take responsibility. Because if you try to hold everything at once, you will end up holding nothing well. And by the way, if you're sitting in that space right now, feeling the urgency but not knowing exactly how to move, I want to remind you that you can book a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call at the link below. We'll help you take everything that feels overwhelming and turn it into a clear starting point with a real plan. You do not have to figure this out alone. The link to book a discovery call is in the description box below. Step 2, identify the real immediate need. And this is really key. The most immediate need may not necessarily be what you assume it is. What you need to do in step 2 is look at what's actually happening on the ground where you live. This is where it's critical to slow down and listen. In other words, you have to talk to people. You've got to connect with existing organizers in your own community, and you need to find out what's already breaking in the community that you know you're called to serve. For example, inside the Ripple Effect Institute, we've worked with people in communities where families are too afraid to leave their homes because of ICE. And not hypothetically, actually quite practically, what this has meant is that their children are not getting fresh food. It's also meant, for instance, that parents are skipping mandatory prescriptions for their own health because they are afraid to go to the drugstore to pick them up. Basic needs were going unmet. Not because the resources didn't exist, but because accessing them was too dangerous. That's the explicit need that our members have sought to serve. And note something about this. This is very specific to the communities in which people live. We're not talking here about broad immigration reform or policy change or even the abolishment of ICE. When we're building community organizations, what we're doing is focusing on meeting immediate needs. In this example, the immediate need is that people can't access food and medicine. That level of clarity is what allows you to act in a way that creates real help. Step 3, build one concrete response. Now that you've identified the community that you're focusing on and you've identified the real need, the next step is to take action directly to meet it. And critical to this is to not start with something too big. You need to start with something that's actually doable. So in that example, one of our members inside the Ripple Effect Institute organized this: a harvest at a local community garden, the coordination of volunteers to move fresh food to families, and the actual delivery of groceries and fresh produce to those families in need. That's it. No website, no big launch, no complicated infrastructure. Just a clear need met in a consistent way. And here's what matters most. It worked because it was specific, because it was structured, and because it was repeatable. Step 4, define roles early. Now, I want to give you a quick heads up. This particular step is where most people fail. This happens to be a layer that most people skip, and it's why many organizations fall apart. Community organizations need roles, even at the very beginning. Not necessarily formal titles, but clear ownership of areas of responsibility. Someone has to be responsible for coordinating requests for support, managing volunteers, handling communication, tracking what's happening week to week. And here's the thing. If all of that runs only through you, you don't have an organization. You have a recipe for burnout. Roles are what turn effort into sustainable action. Okay, and now we're on to step 5. And I told you at the beginning that this was the one that really mattered the most, so stay with me. Step 5 is find your first people. So here's the thing. And I just want to be really honest about this because we've worked with a lot of people inside the Ripple Effect Institute who set out to build a community organization and do it alone. You cannot run an effective community organization to benefit other people if the only person running things is you. So step 5 is really the most critical turning point. You have to find your people. Now, this doesn't mean that you bring in a crowd, but it does mean that you have to have a few other people with you who are willing to act. And you don't need to pitch them with some highfalutin inspirational speech. You can simply invite them into shared responsibility. This is the problem. This is what we're doing. This is where we could really use your help. Do you want to be a part of this? Clarity is what builds commitment. And let me give you an example of this from my own community organizing right here where I live. Here on our block, we have a Signal chat of moms who work together on all sorts of issues inside the community. But specifically, what we're focused on right now is helping to feed food insecure people in a nearby city. Once a month, a mom will mention on our group chat that they're collecting groceries and canned goods. That mom in a given month takes the responsibility of running those groceries and canned goods to the local soup kitchen where they will be distributed. But key to this, in every communication in this group, is an articulation of the problem, the action that we're taking this month, where we need help, and then an invitation to contribute. These 4 quick inquiries get people involved and help us not just to find our people on a monthly basis, but also to expand the circle of impact that we are having as a small community organization. Again, this kind of clarity lets people know exactly how they can help, how to plug in, and what the expected outcome will be. And now I'm going to give you one extra bonus step to get you off the ground quickly. Run your first cycle and learn fast. Okay, so let's just say you've run the 5 steps that I've given you in this video. You've decided the community that you're going to help. You've figured out where the need actually lies. You've decided on some actions that you're going to take. You've organized your roles and you've invited some people to join you. Now you got to actually do the thing. You've got to deliver the groceries, coordinate the rides. You've got to run the system to get that help to the people who need it. But then there's one key thing you got to do, and you've got to do it honestly. You have to look at what you've accomplished the first time around and analyze what worked and what didn't. The key to this is that as you build your community organization, you've got to be asking yourself regularly, what else needs to change here to make this more effective? And then you adjust. This cycle, action, reflection, refinement, that's how community organizations go from an idea to something that scales to greater and greater impact for good. Not by waiting until it's perfect, but by learning as you go and being open to refine how you're building your impact so that it's more effective every single time. Okay, so now that you have your steps and you got your extra bonus step too, let me ground you into something really important here. You do not need to be fearless in order to take action. In fact, many people are afraid of what's happening in this country and are choosing to build community organizations anyway. You do not have to have all the answers. And in fact, as you do this work, it's really important that you continue to learn as you go. You especially don't need to have permission in order to try to change things where you live. But you do need to be willing to do just 3 basic things. Take responsibility for something specific, work with others instead of trying to carry it alone, and build structure, not just intention. So if you've been feeling this pull in this moment, this calling almost, to do something in this moment to actually change what's happening and to help people who really need it, that's not random. That actually, my friends, is a call to leadership. And leadership doesn't mean having all the answers. It means being willing to begin. If you know that that's you, if you know you have a calling to build a community organization that makes a true difference in this era, or you're already running one and you need to learn how to scale it effectively, book a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call at the link below. This is where we help you go from, I know people are in danger and I want to help, to I built something that actually protects and supports my community. Because years from now, we're all going to look back at this moment and we will know whether we stepped forward to help or whether we stayed stuck in uncertainty. Let's make sure that you build something that matters and actually lasts. The link to book that discovery call is in the description. I want to thank you so much for being here and for how much you care about others in your own community and about what's happening in this nation. Now is the time to build effective community organizations that can truly help to protect people in need. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.